we back at it. What it do, Space Academy? It's your boy TC. You know, we got another interview for y'all. Beside me, I got my boy Thozi.
You know,
what's going on?
I'm good, man. I'm good. We got a special guest today.
Okay.
A special interview. Someone that I met not too long ago who has crazy insight into the mind and how that works. And I thought that I mentioned this in the last part that like, I linked up with someone crazy.
Yeah, I remember that.
World. Yeah. And it's like, okay, shit, man, that'd be cool to get him on the pod.
Lovely.
So yeah, man.
You compliment me too much. Blessings. I think we're all flying blind here, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
I'm in your hands.
Thank you for coming through. Thank you for coming through. Yeah.
What a pleasure. Everybody at the back. I see you in the mirror, hey? I see you.
Everybody see it,
yeah. What a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah.
But how have you been, man? Like, how's your day been going?
Man, very well, thank you. You know, I think for everybody post-corona, life is like great and really hard.
Yeah.
So I do several things in my life. I'm like juggling a bowling ball and a balloon
at the same time.
Yeah.
At the same damn time.
It's hard.
That would be that'd be nice for you to break it down. What do you do? What
100%. You know, and I'd love to hear from you guys after because I don't exactly know who's in the room.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
So you can say it how you want. Werner, as you prefer. I play under Tide Me Over. Some people call me Tide.
Tide. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Shout out Tide.
Tide in the building.
You guys yeah. So generally, I'm a researcher, I'm a teacher, I'm an artist.
Okay.
I blend mental health and multimedia, art and academia to speak about the mind. But it's quite a paradox because the mind is so much more than words. And this is why we have art and music to help it be seen and heard. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So like you spoke about teaching, whether like I saw that you studied undergrad psychology.
100%.
And like how was that journey for you?
I mean, it's really excellent. I don't know what you guys studied or why you studied it, but I was always interested in people and the mind from a young age.
Yeah.
And I thought to study, when you come out of school, people are always saying, what are you going to study?
Yeah, what you going to do?
Yeah, we've got to sharpen ourselves more than we used to decades ago. So it was either law, advertising, or psychology. And I'm glad that I went into psychology because at the moment we essentially have a social and emotional revolution.
Okay.
Yeah, we've all connected each other from the 80s, from the internet's inception. And so now we're going through a lot, if that makes sense. Yeah. And so to be into psychology is just really, really exciting. It changed over the years. I did my undergrad, then you do your honors, and then you can split off. And most people, when they think of psychology, they think of a clinical couch situation. Right? But that's not what I'm doing or what I did. I'm into research psychology. So there's clinical, counseling, research. Now there's neuropsychology. There are so many different branches. And then there's a completely different side hustle that's not the same as psychology or industrial psychology and so forth, your business psych, your HR. So I'm into understanding rather than recommending, intervening. That's awesome too. Yeah, that's wonderful. People are doing awesome work out there. But I'm into really understanding, and my interest is understanding ontological aspects of the mind. So if I can quickly clarify ontological, ontology, the study of the nature of things, the beginning of things.
Okay.
Yeah, and in any research, when we speak about layers of research, we say we've got this sorry for the bump, we've got this triangle, and the bottom is ontology. What is the nature of things? Above that, epistemology. How can we know these things? One layer above that, methodology. Okay, what approaches should we take? And then more specific methods. Now, whenever we're working, even at varsity level, many times we speak about foundational theory being important for science, but we only touch on methodologies and methods. Yeah, and so we skip what we're standing on. And in psychology, which is supposed to be, again, the study of the mind, or psyche, the study of the soul, it's very, very important to understand your recursive subjectivity. So I'm interested in the mind, and I'm interested in creating multimedia that goes beyond words, because that is what the mind is, to really share what are you standing on and what are you.
Wow,
that is so
well. How to answer a question?
Too kind.
What is it that you do? That was
you guys are giving me softball hits, man. You're setting me up here. Too good.
But that's crazy. I mean, you talk in that clip that you showed me on YouTube, which was really cool, because the first time I met him, I was like, okay, cool. I was like, what do you do? What? I was like, look, dude, I've got like a YouTube video here. Explains everything, which is really cool and condensed. And you touched on your own, mental challenges, and also a discovery you had while studying through that, and kind of learning about, the study of psychology, but also about like your own psyche and like what that was like. But like, how was that challenging for you? Like, what were you going through at that time?
Very cool and straight to the heart. I think that's what differentiates me and what I'm interested to tell. Everyone's life is different, right?
Yeah.
But I was so lucky to have something special happen to me at exactly the same time as my studies. So 2009, I'm doing my master's in research psychology.
Okay.
So research psych is still about psychology, but we're studying multiple modes of the mind, or multiple ontological perspectives of the mind, right? And at that time, I have what you could call a kind of non-ordinary break from reality.
Okay.
Yeah. I think in Southern African perspectives, you could call it a calling with no ancestors, guys. That's the quickest way to say it, right? Yeah. So when people go into mental health, whether it's nursing or doctor or psychologist, if you have an ancestral background that is actually rooted in non-ordinary states, then there's a lineage. Okay. Now, for someone in my space, or at least in the West, we normally pathologize these experiences. And it's fascinating to have gone through it myself, because they are, of course, intense, but it's possible to go all the way through it, and I would say emerge healthier than you did.
But when you're talking about like fighting through that, were you using psychedelics to kind of get you through that time? Was that purely just you really like deep diving?
Yeah, man, things are quite fascinating. When we speak about certain words, I'm going to clarify them. Feel free to feel differently about them and disagree with me at any time.
Definitely,
but so psychedelic really means mind manifesting. And you could say psyche again means either mind or soul, depending on how far back you go.
Okay.
Yeah, psyche is like echo, a Greek mythical creature, so it's something that's living. And so studying psychology really is about studying the mechanisms of the mind, but it's also about understanding the full subjectivity of the soul. So how do I put this? When you go through an experience like that, it will really cement empathy for the people that you will first work with, and for the things that you're trying to study. I think I'm rambling more than answering your question, but the quickest way I can say is that what happened to me humanized life in such a great way, and I'm an exceptional example, not because I did anything exceptional, but because I went through the experience without intervention. These experiences are highly intense, and they are, now I've caught my frame of reference, endogenous. So endogenous means that it emerges from the inside out.
Okay.
Yeah, when psychedelics were first discovered, they were really amazed by the slight amount that was needed to have a massive experience. LSD, for example, right? So then they were thinking, wow, that's amazing. If you can actually create a small amount of this yourself in your body, whether through breath work, whether through some experience that you have, then you can have this experience without the drug. Now, I've had complete drug naivety when it came to psychedelics at that time. I was smoking marijuana for a few years. I'm sure that helped to some extent, but I'll say that I think that opened me up more than anything and gave me a soft pillow. So I had an endogenous experience, which if you've had psychedelics, you could say it's similar to it. Like if anybody in the room or listening has had a heavy 2-gram mushroom experience, but imagine stretching that out over 3 years and it doesn't stop. And you didn't know that you took the mushrooms, and it took 3 months to pick up. And then you're in a situation where all of life is like that, but you're the only one in it.
So was this you like having a psychedelic experience without taking psychedelics and anything like that?
100%, man. It's fascinating because, again, you don't know what's possible in reality until it happens to you. But the mind is a two-way street, and reality is a two-way street. So when we're speaking about an endogenous experience, everybody has these to some extent, but we can compartmentalize them. So every night when you dream, you're having a non-ordinary experience, right? You get me, right? And you guys have definitely had sometime in your life a strange experience, whether it's about your body and how you feel about your body, having a dissociation experience, or having a feeling of not being in control, or having a feeling of great euphoria, or whatever it might be. You've had all sorts of peak experiences, but I'll say that this thing is so interesting because it's a paradoxical experience of both and neither. Like, I want to give an example that just relates to me. Every experience is unique for every person, so I don't represent anybody in my explanation. It's just my experience, right? But because I've got a background in this, at least theoretically, I've got some jargon that I can connect to it. So one experience that I really am rooted in, and I'll say I still have it today, and I think that it's more true than how most people look at life, the experience of being alive and dead at the same time. It's a good one. It's called, sometimes I mess my jargon up, there's one called Capgras delusion. That's a kind of replacement feeling, like everybody's being replaced, like a doppelganger vibe. And then there's this one called Cotard syndrome. And Cotard syndrome is if someone has the experience that they are dead at the moment. Yeah.
Okay.
And of course people were like, yeah, dude, but like you're moving right here. Yeah. But the physical experience is so powerful. And if you actually investigate your experience of living, you may come to the same conclusions. So maybe I can start there and just like throw the ball around a bit. What makes you think or feel that you're alive right now?
Sense of purpose.
Well, like right now we're here, right? Okay, we're in the room,
Probably
right?
like everything I'm feeling, like, you know what I'm saying? Emotions,
Senses.
Okay.
senses. That makes me feel like, okay, shit, I'm really in this bitch. You know?
It feels very real to
feels
you,
very
right?
real, yeah.
Yeah. But have you had a dream that felt very, very real to you?
Yeah.
That's sick. So how did you discern that from the real world? Yeah.
In the moment, it's hard to. I mean, sometimes when you realize when you wake up that shit was not, because some dreams kind of feel, you know,
Crack the code.
kind of
Very
just like,
real, man. Some very
you know,
strange.
but then there's some that are just very real, where it feels like the situation is as real as like we are right
In
now.
real life,
Yeah.
Do you think that's maybe your mind doing the same thing that it does while it's awake?
Well, I like the question, man. You know, there are some cool TED talks where they're speaking about how you're hallucinating reality, and to some extent, that's one good way to look at it.
Yeah.
The cooler questions are like, let's look at the words we use and just go deeper, because we're a bunch of really big minds. You know, no one can build our minds for billions of dollars, dude. That's sick. So let's go somewhere together if we can, word by word. Like, where is your mind? Let's just start there. Like, if we're going to talk about the mind, where is your mind? Like, do you have a mind? Where is it?
Is it?
Is it there?
What do you guys think? Like,
It's not your brain, because your brain is your brain.
okay, sweet. So
So like a higher conscience type thing, or
well, it's
or-
like, tell me what you think as we go. Like, for example, ancient Egyptian mythology, at least in generalities, thought that the soul was in the heart. And you can imagine why, right? If you put your ear there, you can hear something's beating.
It just makes sense.
And if it stops, everything stops.
Yeah.
And it's flowing this important life blood through everything. So they're like, okay, cool. The soul, or the mind, whatever you want to call it, sits in the heart. Cool. But now, because of what we know about the brain, we think that it's the brain, right? It may be so, but like, if your eyes were on your butt, where would you think your mind was?
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a point of view. You see what I mean? Yeah.
Sure.
So I was gonna say, is the mind like the observer of everything? Like, it's
That's a
the
good
one
way of looking at it.
observing like the whole experience.
What do you think, man?
I think so. Yeah.
You think so?
I
Are
think
you
it
that
could
observer?
Pardon?
Are you that observer?
Am I that observer?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like a good way of looking at it is also how, like he said, your mind is what's observing, right? And then your body, the physical, is just the shell. Because you know how some people believe that once you die, your soul goes wherever it goes, and that was the core of you. You know, it wasn't your body. So that's why I feel like your body might be a shell, but everything is from the mind. And I don't believe that the heart is where emotions and stuff are. I believe that the heart is just there to pump blood. You know, that it has a function in your body.
Thanks.
I feel like everything you feel is in the brain, because the brain is such a complex thing.
Powerful.
Very much
You know what I'm
so.
saying?
Powerful.
Emotions, everything. I feel like that's a mental thing.
And how does the mind and the body connect for you? Are they separated? Are they the same thing? Where does one end and the other one begin?
Shit.
I'd say it could be a thing of like, for example, let me use pain as an example. Pain. If I stub my toe, you know, my brain is gonna tell my body that, listen, there's something happening there. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like in some sense they're linked. Yeah.
I hear that. I find when I'm most in sync is kind of when there's a balance between like
Mind and body.
yeah, mind and body in that, like when I'm working out and I'm
Probably
also
meditating
exposing
or something.
exposing myself to knowledge and really getting, then I feel like I'm really reaching kind of
Sinking them.
peak,
Yeah.
you know,
form.
me, full form,
full
where
form.
like my
Where you
body,
operate at your best.
I feel my body good, my mind is sharp, whatever, because like I'm zoning in right now. That's kind of where I feel like, okay.
So then I feel like there is a link then, if that's the case.
Yeah.
A lot of people like to associate, you know, the fitness with, you know, mental and whatnot. So I think it's valid to you know, associate like that.
Don't you think it's maybe because that's a point where in your mind you're letting go, you just like not really letting go, but you're not really worried about other things. A lot of people work out just to clear their mind.
Yeah.
Oh, true.
They say it clears their mind, it gives them open
Some people
sense
it's
of thought and
therapeutic,
open
yeah.
sense of that.
True.
Do you think maybe it's because the feeling, how can I put this? The feeling that it gives off it gives you a feeling where you focused on that thing solely and not worried about other things. Because I'm not a working out person, y'all should know. Can you work out while thinking about other
thinking
stuff,
about something else, things in the outside?
I think it's possible to work out and think about other things, like depending, like if it's a deep set or whatever, your mind's only on that shit. But I mean yeah, definitely, you know, for me, I found running a thing like that, where like your mind kind of goes into this you just go into deep thought sometimes. You're just doing it.
Every person who writes books speaks about how walking is part of the book writing.
Walking, I do a lot of deep thinking when walking. You really just there with your thoughts, and you just like, okay, cool, thinking about shit, thinking about whatever it is. But you're definitely in a deeper state where even the walking just feels like a subconscious thing. Yeah, like you're just moving.
The feeling of walking fades away.
Yeah, it's not even,
you're completely in your mind at this point. Yeah,
definitely.
Like I feel like also with working out, like it's more than just working out, because there's times where you're pushing yourself. There's times where like you leave that workout session like you're like doing more than just working out. You know what I'm saying? Like there's mental challenges that you go through and that you have to push through. So it's more than just the exercise itself. I feel like.
It's working your mind just as much as your body. Your mind is also benefiting.
You know what I'm saying? Telling yourself that now you can actually do this. You can be pushing through pain and something that you don't want to do. Even just waking up in the morning, you don't want to do this, but like pushing through. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like speaking of like pushing through, you know, like pain thresholds and things like that. I know we spoke about even when taking substances, about having a threshold. And about not passing that threshold, and like how did you come to understand where your threshold is, and also, you know, what the dangers are associated with maybe just going a bit
nice, man. I think maybe if we're speaking about non-ordinary experiences, I'm the one in the room who's had it without drugs, right?
Okay,
So if anybody in the room is happy to speak about their drug experiences live to the world, feel free to do so. But I'll also caution you against that. I'll say that non-ordinary experiences are incredible because they are unbelievable. They are exactly not what you are used to, and like a baby to the universe, it is unknown what is possible. There are incredible applications for drug experiences inside of psychedelic therapy, psychedelic assisted therapy. Psychedelics had a massive renaissance in the 50s, late 50s, early 60s. Then it leaked out, and we had a massive musical and art and culture renaissance. But like riding a dragon, it's very, very hard to land a dragon. And you better feed that dragon too. And so we weren't really ready, at least in the West, for psychedelics. We're having a second renaissance now. And because of our cannabis culture in Southern Africa, we're having almost like a toe in the door. So cannabis is the toe, and then psychedelics is the foot. And it provides massive possibility for helping treating, I'll say, multi-dimensional issues in Southern Africa. These are anxiety, depression, alcoholism or substance abuse disorders, and gender-based violence. They all are linked intermittently, and they can all be dealt with very well. But these substances out of the right hands or in the wrong hands can create tremendous potential for abuse. Lots of people have taken psychedelics, I think, in party spaces, at home as well, and as efficaciously as they might want to. There are some details about how to take, what not to take with, who not to take with, and when not to take, and how much.
It's like a set rules like that you should follow.
Deeply so.
Like a unwritten type.
Not even unwritten.
Let me rather say, like, if you find a space gun in the forest, you could shoot it if you want to. But you better watch out.
You don't know what's gonna happen.
Especially, and I'll say that people don't know the strength of psychedelics. There are really amazing people in the last 50 years who have done awesome work that is available online. So I'll always advise people to say, like, read up, research what's happening right now. There are amazing specialists doing incredible legal work, and they've got really cool documentaries about it. They're writing about it. They're on the Joe Rogans, man. They're speaking out loud about it. There are good books that you can read as well. For use, I won't condone use. I won't say do it. I won't say don't do it. I'll say learn as much as you can
about it,
because it's really bigger than anybody thinks or can explain to you, especially at the threshold experience. Having a mind, like we're talking about, is fascinating, because I don't know how you guys feel about the difference between humans and animals, but humans have this recursive circle that we're doing all the time. We started touching on it in our answers, I'm thinking, but I'm also thinking about thinking. You get me? Or in my box that I'll play maybe later, we're playing in a delay. that we have made for ourselves. Like if I can bring us to our triangle and then give a quick example with the body, if that's cool. Okay, sick. So we were speaking about this mind-body problem, right? Where they begin and end. And what we're really speaking about is an ontological foundation of the last 300 years of Western thought called Cartesian dualism. René Descartes, in part of the Renaissance, wrote about this a lot and in a really cool way, asking like, what is reality? What is the world? And he spoke about this mind and body dualism. So that's really where dualism comes from. And dualism is as a result of Newtonian physics and the renaissance of mathematics at the time and how we thought about rationality and the mind. But as a result, we don't know any of this. This is just our foundation of our ancestors, right? And so our thinking today is thinking we have a body and a mind. We separate mental health and physical health, and we experience our bodies as separate from our minds to some extent. But really, they are doing a transcendental dance as beautiful and as old as Beauty and the Beast, man. It's like tale as old as time. Okay, so here's an example. You don't have to do it with me, but you're welcome to if you want to. Simple, It's just about imagining, and we're talking about stuff that's really right here. Like when I wrote my biology exams in school, I'd be so frustrated, like, have to do a diagram of my stomach. It's right there, like,
Right there.
right here, dude, like that. So it's right here. What we're talking about, my body and my mind, is right here. So while we're talking, just be aware of that. Sweet. So if you want to, you can keep your eyes open, but closed is easier. And you're going to pinch your finger and just move it around the room, right? Slowly, fast, whatever you want. You can feel where that is, right? You can feel where your finger is? Yeah, okay, cool. How do you know where your finger is right now?
Based on where I saw it before I closed it?
Okay, so if you're holding it right now, I can feel that pinch and I'm imagining it in the air. I can feel it's right there. When I move it here, I know it's here. How do I know it's here versus here? Can you
Your
guys?
mind telling you that?
What about your arm? What about your mind?
I was about to say that
it's right there, right?
I feel the link to my arm. My arm is like telling my body that listen,
oh, you're nailing it, bro. You're nailing it. Like,
Shout out TC!
Straight up. Exactly. That pinch right there, right? I'm feeling that I know where this pinch is because of my angle of my wrist.
Exactly.
But I know where my wrist is because of the angle of my arm. But I know where my arm is because of the angle of my shoulder. Each point is pointing to the other, like that silly song that your left bone's connected to your right bone. Exactly. But there's no bone or space in your body that knows where it is. Each one is saying, you're there because I'm here, you're there because I'm here, you're here because I'm here.
So therefore, he must be there.
It's the Ubuntu of the body, guys. Like I am a person through other persons. Literally, right? Okay, cool. So you can feel that for your body, right? So now let's just move it one higher or one ethereal level, to the mind, right? Okay, sick. So right now you're listening to me, right? Okay, cool. You can see yourself listening to me? Okay, cool. So that means a part of you is listening to me and a part of that you is behind you listening to yourself listening to me. Can you see that? Okay, sick. So if that's true, then that must mean you're listening to me, but you were listening to yourself listening to me. But if you saw that there was a third dude at the back then watching all along, right? There you go. That's that recursive human circle. There's being and there's being of being. Or there's knowing and then there's knowing that you know. And that is the split-mindedness of humanity. It's always under the surface. That's psychedelics.
Is it like, have you ever been in like an elevator and like there's like a mirror on each side and you just see like a deeper
you were nailing it, dude.
Deeper you.
When I saw this mirror, I thought like, man, if you had a moving mirror and we put one back here, that's exactly
this thing.
So you only need
that's a great example of
thanks, man. It's quite practical because it's here. If you have two mirrors, you get infinity. That's cool. That's really what's going on in the recursiveness of the mind. Now if you have an endogenous experience, a psychedelic experience without drugs, or you take a drug for whatever reason and you have this, not collapse of the psyche, but loosening of the psyche, then you become aware of that behind the behindness. But you don't necessarily feel like you're in control of it because it's very big. It's like, that's really what the big mind is. That may be you, it may not be you. That's what I'm interested in saying. Wow, we're standing on that thing right now.
That's the main guy right there.
Boom, boom. Right? I don't know who... Can we use like modern and ancient myth to connect? Because I don't know what you guys love in stories, but this stuff is constantly spoken about, you know? Like in Freudian terms, this is called the id, the thing. The ich. In German, I think the ich, the thing. And the thing is what we're all born as, just being, just feeling, a baby, affect, right? And then over time, we gain a sense of self, just like in a dream.
Yeah.
We wake up into life. We don't remember the beginning of the dream.
Facts.
We're just like, yeah, I'm here.
Does that mean
that
it's
weird?
like you randomly wake up at 5 years old, like, damn, I'm here.
That's messed up, man.
Yeah.
See, we're all having a crazy, non-ordinary experience called life. Yeah. And so as we emerge into that, we gain this, I'll say, a schism. I don't know if you know Tool as a rock band, great cult band. They've got a good music video called Schism that just like stages this well. It's a rediscovering communication. That's one lyric of theirs. And we're taking like Eve, so to say, this mythical being, life itself, Eve coming from the word Ava, coming from Shava, the Hebrew or Arabic for life itself.
Okay.
But then we also have Adam, meaning humanity. What does Adam do? Adam names all of life. And in naming everything, the ego, humanity, gains power over life. Eventually, some punishments in the mythical story of gaining knowledge of right and wrong, good and bad. Dualism, gives us this self-awareness. Just like God has awareness of all things, including self, we gain self-awareness, being of being, but it tears us apart. And Adam and Eve are ripped apart and are ashamed and are disconnected from each other and from God itself. Now, in this mythical story, cast out of Eden, we gain a sense of self. And in gaining a sense of self, we feel like we're going to die. And we gain a shadow, so to say. That's the quaternity that we are really starting to touch on when we speak about the psyche. Now we're going from Freud to Jung and saying, well, I'm not just one being. I'm all these parts that are like floating either under or behind the scenes, making this happen. And we can name them however we want. If we name them a certain way, they will look that way.
That's how they are.
But at least in the West, and what works, I think, for me well, is this quaternity. If you're a Christian or you have a Christian foundation, then this works well for you. If you love Marvel, if you love Black Panther, if you love Rick and Morty, all of these shows are modern myths that are using the same quaternal space to actually represent your mind on a screen. Now that's a safe distance, right? So even music and media is a non-ordinary experience. But the scary ones are when there's no distance between the screen and the viewer.
That's insane. And sorry. No, okay. I wanted to ask, like, so me personally, right? I have never done anything psychedelic or so. I wanna I wanna ask, like, since you're talking about experiencing that without having to take something to, reach that certain level. For someone who hasn't yet experienced anything like that, what can you say I could gain from it? Like you broke down, all the good and the, all the nitty gritty stuff. But like, as someone who just purely wants to know, like, if I were to do psychedelics, should I do it because I want to reach a certain level, or should I do it because it's worth the experience, or like.
Very cool. Well, sometimes I'll try to answer my best, but I might sound like a riddler. It's not because I'm an asshole. It's because I'm trying to give the best answer I can. Do you know a guy called Alan Watts?
Alan Watts, no.
And I've heard the name.
Oh man, awesome speaker. He's dead now. I think he was British, and he really spoke about philosophy and psychedelics a lot, right? And this is now like a paraphrase quote about self-development. So let's say that you want to self-develop. I'm in a position now, and I want to get to a better position. I imagine myself in that ideal self I'm going to go towards, right? So whether you take psychedelics to get there or not, my first question will be like, well, if you're at your worst self right now, how can your worst self construct a better view of yourself?
Okay.
How can we even self-develop or go somewhere better from a worse position? You get me? Hey, there's these paradoxes. There's the circularity that'll keep coming up. So I'll say, anybody who wants to go to another space to self-develop, to go to a high or whatever, I'll be like, what are you dissatisfied about right now? What are you trying to get away from right now?
What's the reason behind
Let's go towards that thing, because that's where the shit lies, and that's where the fertilizer lies. So people can do whatever they want in life. I always hope that they'll do so safely, but I will say that explore yourself within the bounds of your own comforts. That's very, very important. Sometimes people think that we're on great journeys, and we're alive, but people don't know that an experience like psychedelics can literally obliterate your sense of self. So if you're looking to self-develop, this is something that obliterates your sense of self, at least momentarily. And in doing so, that may have something to do with self-develop within the context of therapy, within the context of, I'll see, like, we call it like a safe framework, arms to hold the experience, and so that we can make meaning of it going out. So everybody can do that, with psychedelics, with breath work, with reading and audiobooks, with exercise.
You said breath work.
Yeah, like there's one thing called holotropic breathwork. Okay. Yeah, there's a really great, like, great-grandfather of psychedelics who's still alive. His name is Stanislav Grof. Yeah, anybody can check him out. Grof, his surname. Okay. And he and his wife did amazing work in psychedelics. There are essentially, well, there are more than this, but I remember 5 famous people from the late 50s and 60s that started the psychedelic revolution, and Stanislav Grof is in there. Yeah. And he, after psychedelics became illegal, continued his work where it was illegal and bounced between different countries, but also created holotropic breathwork. And that just really is about giving the same endogenous experience for psychedelics. So if I can explain very simply, this is like an oversimplification. Okay. Yeah, the brain is really like a flower, three petals of the same flower. My first one is my brain stem. Yeah, you could call that your lizard brain, right? Okay. So that's your fight or flight, your heat, your breath. Yeah, it's the feeling. And then out of that comes your avian or your mammalian brain. Okay. That's more about a recognition of objects, feelings, some meanings and sociability. Then right at the top, there's almost like a tablecloth, a furrowed tablecloth, and that is the human mind sitting on top. And right at the top there is our executive functioning. That's our mathematical calculability, keeping all objects separated, keeping my sense of self separated from you, right? Yeah. Now, if I take a drug or I give something called hypoxia to my brain, hypoxia, not enough oxygen safely, by a certain kind of hard breathing, intense music in the room, and a certain sitter, it's a kind of... And you'll maintain that for 30 minutes maybe. First you'll have a massive relaxation exercise, and then you'll maintain a kind of steady hard breathing under guidance until you give yourself a hypoxia, and what's called your default mode network will loosen or break down. Your default mode network is trying to bring all your sensory streams together. If you imagine, it feels so like it's really happening, right? But in a sense, your audio's got to match. You know, we're doing it today. Yeah. Your audio's got to match your video, right? But video light is faster than audio. Yeah. It's got to wait. Yeah, it's at the back, the occipital lobe. Yeah, we've also got meaning that's got to be connected. That's all of our hard drive space, and our RAM is running for that, right? So we've also got to connect all of our words, our semantic lexical network, to our somatosensory network, to our feeling. So our feeling and our meaning must connect. Yeah. And all of this must sit on top of me moving dynamically, and the world is changing all the time. Now that is an insane thing to match, right? The timing of that is so hard. Yeah. So if we give that a little bit of mistiming, it breaks down somewhat. And then what we could call the id arises out of that, or a non-ordinary experience arises out of that, because the super-egoic or egoic structures of the person now allow for cognitive fluidity.
And relaxation like that.
That's it. So it's really a breakdown of the default mode network through breath work or through psychedelics, through whatever mode you may find, through yoga. Yeah, all of these modalities have different potentialities. But I will say, of all, psychedelics are the strongest by far. And I will also then always say, safeguard yourself by understanding as much as you can. And if possible, do so through a legal framework, and do so with people who will look after you. Because there's no point in trying to let go if you're by yourself.
But
there's no point.
What was that first experience like as well?
Man, every
psychedelic experience.
Every experience is unbelievable, and you know, as I speak about it, like with the imagining that other people will listen to it, I almost self-censor along the way. That should tell you something about how serious these experiences are. Yeah, because they have, they're not even in the gray area legally, they're in the black area legally. Yeah, so anybody taking psychedelics in our country should know that is sadly still a crime. And so I wonder, is speaking about your experience a crime? Heavy days, hey?
Allegedly.
Heavy days, right?
Someone did something.
Yeah, and that's also part of the reason why it's possible for me to speak about non-ordinary states, because I don't own only have some psychedelic experiences, they are not endogenous for me from the beginning. Yeah. And so I've got something that everybody may have stigma about, but nobody is freaking out about in the same way that they are drug use. It's very, very sad because there are great potentials for psychedelic use. And when we speak about psychedelics, people hear many different things. Same for like, psychosis and schizophrenia.
It's just like how, especially in South Africa, just like if you think that marijuana had a bad name and the stigma that was put on it, just imagine the stigma that was put on psychedelics. It's probably told that like, no, that person is a witch, he's some stuff. Now I'm sure this causes a lot of admissions to mental health hospitals because someone maybe unknowingly, I'll even say like, okay, but I had a question before I forget it. Is there a way your body can, like how you said you had you were able to have a psychedelic trip without tripping, without doing the psychedelics?
100%. Yeah.
So this effect can be done. It's all a chemical effect, right? Chemical reaction.
In the same way that love for your partner is a chemical reaction. But 100%.
So it is in you.
Yes,
but that brain just needs to be activated.
Well, whether it's something that we're creating or no longer inhibiting, that's interesting. Like sometimes we think that our brain is a chemical soup, but it's really more complex than that. One thing you can say is that the things that fire together wire together. So if there are neurons that are firing at the same time, eventually they may find each other and strengthen. And that's why when we change what's firing at the same time, we will change what's wiring. You can do that with a drug, or you can do it with breath work, which again loosens default mode network. And then you have all sorts of cognitive fluidity that's possible. But the same is possible in like hypnotic work, guided imagery. It's just the strength that's different. Because the strength of psychedelics is so extreme, don't want to put it in a separate category from all these legal modes. I'll just say it is actually possible without, which is really fascinating. And people should realize that maybe they're like parallel lines. Like I want to bring up a guy I really like. His name is Ramdas. He used to be called Richard Alpert. He was one of the big five that started our massive American psychedelic revolution.
I think that not that.
No, not that. Old bro,
Guys, the big five brains.
He's a badass, bro. And he essentially started as a psychiatrist at Harvard. He got in touch with psychedelics. It had a massive effect on him. Eventually he had years-long journeys with psychedelics, and then into spiritualism, Hinduism, Buddhism, right? And he spoke about how psychedelics opened him up and gave him spaces to go to that maybe sped things up. But he said in the long term, it made it difficult for him in a unique way later in life. So again, like, are you religious? Because these things will touch on religion as well. And then we should be clear about words. Like, do we even know what the word religion is? I teach languages sometimes, so I'll know. But do you guys know what the word religion is?
Nope. I have no idea where it stems from. I was just told that religion is
religion.
Religion means
follow suit.
Yeah,
straight. Like ligature. To connect. Ligament, ligature. So religion is to reconnect.
Right? Like ligaments.
Yes, exactly. Ligaments connect the parts of my body, right? So in the same way, religion reconnects myself to whatever we schismed from, if we want to see it that way in our mythology. And so then, I mean, everything is possible in terms of return, but I will always say, why do you want to do it? Like, what's the purpose? What's the benefit? What's the intention here? And then I'll say, have you ever had in non-ordinary experiences before? Did you unpack them and get the most out of them? You know, are you dreaming every night? Are you interested in journaling that? The more you journal, the more you may dream. Fascinating.
Oh, really interesting one.
What's the science behind that? Is it just that you're able to document, and as such, just like you get better at keeping track of dreams?
Well, like, this is all anecdotal, but I think it makes sense to me. Let's say you're going overseas or you're going for a trip somewhere, and then you're going to be isolated for a while, right? Whether it's a few weeks or a few months. And if you're alone after a while, you stop thinking of the thing that you would have said to whoever was in the room, like, and then this. And eventually your mind quiets down and you just no longer think about that. So I think this is a similar case to some extent. How do I put this? It's difficult to phrase, man. Can you rephrase your question, or can you prompt me?
Shit, what is the question?
Don't worry, bro. I'm on the same track.
No, it was it was about dreaming. About you saying about dreaming more.
Yeah, thank
so
you.
now
So if you have a journal next to your bed and you have a pen, it might be like living with a person who's there every night. Then you will start to think of things to say to that person. Yeah.
Oh damn.
Yeah,
Okay.
you see what I mean? And so then every night you may have dreamt before, but this time you're like, I might as well write it down. And the next time that habit will possibly strengthen your ability to remember what you were dreaming.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's one good way to say it. Yeah, and I mentioned dreaming just because, again, we all have that experience, right? But none of us unpack it. Why? You know?
Yeah.
It's happening every night.
Literally.
Available to us. Yeah. Everyone thinks that's normal. Okay. Everyone's tripping balls every night.
Do you feel like just sit under the bridge like
I mean, unpacking dreams. What do you think is the importance of unpacking dreams? Because like you said, it feels normal. We dream about being in a random place with random things around us and random people that doesn't make sense. And it's just like, oh, okay, after a good 15 minutes of waking up, you've kind of forgotten about the whole movie that you just went
Doesn't
through.
get processed.
Like, you just died, bro.
Yeah, like you could have. I mean, you have a death experience or whatever it is, and nightmares and whatnot. But then after a good, even if it really on your mind, after a good day, you kind of forget about it.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
So I mean, like what's the importance of unpacking a dream?
Well, like,
or trying to make sense of it?
Yeah, great question. I'm just always going to say what comes up, because these are inner spaces we all have, but we never say them like with detail. Sometimes we think we have the same minds, but we don't, right?
Yeah, no.
We arrived at the same room with different pathways. So I had one student that I taught, and they thought all their lives, they're like a late teenager when they're explaining this to me. Every night when they go to bed, just before their dream starts, it's like a dark nothing, and then like a Disney tale, fairy tale book openings, and then there's a pen that writes, and then the dream begins. And she thought everybody has that every night. Do you guys have are you aware before the dream begins and then they start drawing the dream?
No.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and she was like, "Oh, you guys don't have that."
That's crazy. Yeah,
people's minds. Like, man. To me, that's
Isn't
crazy
that incredible, right? Or other people don't have an internal monologue. It's very rare, but in billions of people, that's thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah.
So like you can say things to yourself in your head, like, I'm doing it right now. Yeah, they can't, bro.
Yeah.
And they think that no one can until they start to express their inner world. Yeah. Many of them don't realize until years and years into their lives, like, wow, everybody else has an internal monologue, but if I have to think something, I can't have it so slowly. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah,
so,
that is crazy.
What do you think about? Obviously, you're having that internal like monologue, but how is it therapeutic to talk to yourself and have full on conversations, or is that kind of a crazy thing? Because sometimes, you can.
I feel like just like
Before you
anything,
say that,
depends on the viewer.
I'll say everyone speaks to themselves. Some just speak out loud.
Oh, well said.
Think to themselves.
That's a good way of putting
Well
it.
said,
Some
man.
yell to themselves.
Yeah.
Or you just have to. That dialogue is always going to be there.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is like what the tone is. Yeah, it depends on the tone of the speaking.
I suppose so. Yeah.
I think we are always speaking to ourselves. That's another cool thing about the mind. Like you can't stop thinking. Yeah, you can try. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
And
right?
I feel like as soon as someone points out the fact that you could be doing something and then you start thinking about
yes.
As soon as you said that literally started happening in my mind. I'm listening to you, but at the same time, like, wow, I'm listening to this guy. Damn,
That's magic, man. 100%. Words are like hiding in plain sight. It's magic because we're spelling each other. It's incredible. That's why we call it spelling, man. Yeah, it's really, really fascinating. Things are hiding in plain sight, and the mind's recursiveness means that we don't see it. And sometimes when we speak about the mind or words, we think we're speaking about these shapes of noise that you interpret as meaning.
Yeah.
But this is the thing that's happening in an undercarriage of separation of space that is actually language holding it together. At least that is one perspective to view the world as, and that's why I come out. I see a beautiful paradox between time and language taking place. Yeah, we speak about it in myths and media as well. So any myth that you love, you will find it there. But I think that's the ontological foundation of the mind. We are creating or sustaining a sense of self. But that sense of self is sitting on dualism, but that dualism is sitting on time. Yeah, a flowing moment. Yeah, that flowing moment. Yeah, and we may be referencing that flowing moment with dualism itself. Yeah, but that thing can move and shake and change in crazy ways. Yeah, it does when we get born, as we become adults. Yeah, when people have breaks, or when people dream. Yeah, you could think of it as an exodus, an expansion. and a collapse. But in the West, most people see the collapse as pathological. And many people going through a collapse of the psyche are having a hard time. Normally they're unsupported. And they don't know that they're going through it. And that can be hard.
It's just touching on, you talking about unpacking dreams. How does one unpack like deja vu?
Oh, that's cool, man.
How...
Can you tell us, so we agree, what is deja vu?
What does it feel like, or what?
Give me an example.
Give me an example.
I mean, it's the strangest. It feels like that's so Raven.
What do you think? What do you think?
I think it's high key. Like, damn, I've experienced this before.
You're watching it happen.
Yeah,
you literally like.
It's like, whoa, this just happened to me.
And it's crazy when that happens, bro. You find
just for that moment,
watching it happen.
For that moment, everything after that is like, okay,
exactly.
But it's just for that moment.
Do you think before? I don't mean to cut you off. Do you think that that's part of the psychedelic, the effect that psychedelic gives on the brain? You think that's your brain giving that to itself?
A little dose or something.
Like, whoa. Just mind messing up. Because your brain knows that once you see this, you're going to refer to me and be like, yo, do you
Haven't we seen this before? Yeah.
But didn't your brain make that?
What if you're to follow the pattern of when it happens? Like, maybe it could be you're in a certain frame of mind. Maybe,
but how hard is that?
That's also hard.
Like, you'd have to get a grip of your mind to a point where it's like, okay, I'm ready to get into the state.
That I'm about to do this.
Yeah, maybe I had a clear mind. It happens when I have a clear mind or something.
This moment.
And that's the thing about deja vu. It's unplanned. It's not like, okay, it's coming. It just hits you.
It just happens.
So I feel like it'd be hard to like try and understand that thing.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
explain nicely. I mean, we're subconsciously referencing the Matrix. Am I right? I don't know if you guys like the Matrix. But
I do.
The Matrix references deja vu as the glitch in the Matrix. I reference that because I think it's just a cool way to think about your mind is doing something and you're noticing it. And you're noticing that you're noticing it.
I think that's what it is. It's you noticing this moment. You're not just I'm in this. Like, you notice this moment, then you notice that wait.
Yes, it feels like
I've seen this. So you noticing it. Yeah,
that's so great, man. And maybe it's not exactly the same experience, but I mean, this is a cool example that I can share. It's 2009 or 2010. Yeah, that's my real massive. I'll say like opening rather. I'm doing my research psychology masters. It's a year of coursework. Then you do your thesis.
Where if you don't mind to tell us?
It's at UP. I did my undergrad, my honors, and my masters there. They had an awesome course. I'll say they were both very kind people in that they did not know that I was going through this experience. I kept it a secret. It was very safe for me to do so. Lots of people, love to them, get good help with our medical faculty. Lots also get stuck in it. And I was very lucky to go through this and to have the ability to do it. I don't ever say someone should do it alone, but I'm lucky with a confluence of moments that I emerged safely. Like, there are insane things that happen inside of it that I can unpack at another time that just explain the significance of it. But the one moment that I'll share is one time I'm going with my girlfriend at the time to Monte Casino. We're going to go to the bird park. I am blown out in a way that you might imagine on psychedelics you will be, right? But this is something that has lasted weeks now, weeks and weeks and weeks. I don't know where it's come from. I have no psychedelic experience myself, but it is an incredible world where the object gives way to subject, where thinking gives way to feeling. So imagine that the world is the world, but it becomes deeply metaphorical in a really huge way. I've got to give physical examples in a second. So we're on our way to Monte Casino. I'm busy doing my M, but my mind is blowing open to a great extent. And I go with my girlfriend, sweetheart at the time, and she's kind of hand holding a guy who's going through something, but she does not know it. And so we arrive at the bird park, walk through Monte Casino, get to the bird park, and it's like I think it's a Valentine's Day situation, or it's like all the families at the park. Just imagine you feel like you're in heaven immediately, and the sun rays are landing in a way that just completely create a sense of timelessness. There's absolutely no sense of time here, and everything becomes deeply connected and deeply metaphorical. Some people might speak about synchronicities, important things happening at the same time. So I want to step out the story quick to give an example. Let's say tonight when you finish your last podcast, you guys are going home, and each one you're home, on your way home, you stumble into it, maybe at the garage, an old friend of yours are like, whoa, amazing. One corner turned, another old friend. And you're like, whoa, what a crazy coincidence. Say hi again. Third corner, guys, third old friend is there. 7 corners later. How many corners do we need to pass before you start saying, yo, what is going on here? Do you see what I mean? What's your threshold? So that is really what's going on in my mind's eye. Everything is connected. Everyone is in on an incredible moment. And as the sun is setting over Monte Cassino, it feels like this is the end of the world now. Yeah, I'm part of the end of the world. A kind of apocalyptic moment is happening. And I'm sure in any second now, everything will end in an incredible way, but it's all fine. It's all euphoric. Yeah, that is an incredible experience because it's both completely everything is okay, but also a complete end to everything that you know. Yeah, beautiful paradoxes are possible when it comes to the mind. When you take the carpet out from under the feet of dualism. Yeah, when you have no motion in time, you have no reference for time, then you start to lose your sense of self. But your sense of self was a reference for everyone else's sense of self. That Ubuntu ship we were talking about earlier. Yeah, I'm a person through other persons. So what if I disappear? Then all persons will also disappear.
Damn.
Yeah. So to go through a feeling of dying, but you're still here. What a paradox. Yeah. So, okay, we're dead now. What do we do now? Yeah. We're still going to eat? Okay. Yeah. Some people will stand still. Catatonia is a vibe. Some people will have a very difficult experience and they'll try to become more and more extreme to pop the bubble of their individualized experience. They may even become evangelical and deeply religious and try to get people in on what they believe. And that might feel like they're trying to save people, but in essence, they're trying not to be alone in their very intense experience. You get me, yeah?
That's crazy.
Just really spoke on that.
So that's one example of what's possible. Yeah. And in a very trippy way, to go through it is awesome, but you never see it coming. It's called prodromal. The prodromal period is when something is building up inside of your psyche, but you don't see it yet. Like the ocean has fish inside of it, we know, but we can't see them until they're really close to the surface.
That goes hand in hand with anger, right?
Oh, well said.
Anger is also building up. You don't know that you're getting.
Dude, badass. Can you elaborate on that? Like, where does that come from? Like I think it's like a Star Wars reference maybe, but let me get this right. Fear is cold anger. You just got to heat it up. Fear is cold anger. You've got to heat it up, and then there you go.
Damn.
Yeah. You know, that quaternal thing I was speaking about is a good one to look at. And we do need to repress things. Like, we're all going to die, right? Damn. Why are we doing a podcast, guys? We should be running for the hills. Like, we can't. Like,
what are we doing?
Yeah, what are we doing here? Like, but actually, we got to live, right? So repression is good to some extent. It's good to put some stuff below the surface. But then in our society, there's a lot of shit that goes below the surface that should not. Or at least in a male context or perspective, when we're talking about anger, like, I like to separate anger and aggression. Yeah, and I think anger is a constant state of tension, which eventually breaks, right? But aggression is a intentional action to regress or to aggress, right? Yeah, and I think that both of those are repressed in our society, and we confuse those two. So yeah, those are things that lie in the shadow. Yeah, this is one way to speak. And the shadow is unconscious to us completely. Yeah, like if I put a couple of drops of iodine in your water, you will not see it. It's mixed inside. And all these unconscious parts of yourself, some are good that they are unconscious, some are bad that they are unconscious, and then they seep out in perverted or difficult, more complex ways that people are not aware of, and then it sneaks up on them. I'll always speak anecdotally from what I've read and I've known, but when it comes to anger, normally people don't know that they have something building until a snap, and that's the first time that they go and see someone. Maybe there's a boyfriend who's very angry, and then he just hits the wall, you know, but he's like, yo, like, I'm not that guy. And it's true. No one is that guy. That's the trick of the shadow. And only when we have breaks do we see something, but then it goes below the surface, everything's okay, and we return to a capitalist system, you know, that runs very fast. So I'll say, everything hides from us, some good, some bad. Anger's one.
And I feel like that links with how, you know, I don't really know the fact, I think we've touched on it in one of the other podcasts, like how much percentage of our brains we actually use. I'm not sure if you know how much percent we actually do use, or if there is a percentage if we just use our brain.
I get you guys, you know. I don't know enough to give you a perfect answer, but I will say, imagine if you used 100% of your brain. We call that epilepsy, you know, like we call that, you know what I mean? Like, so things are firing at the same time and things are not firing at the same time.
It's going to be like an engine overheating.
So it's not about percent. Like, is the car always revving at, like,
shouldn't be
the edge?
In the red line the whole drive.
But it can. But
it's more about
it's
this.
going to be damaged.
Yeah.
Straight up. You can't rev forever. So we've got a sympathetic and a parasympathetic system. We're moving between them. We've got waking and sleeping states. We're moving between them. So it's really about, I don't know if it's a homeostasis or balance that we're really creating in the body.
That's what I was about to say.
You get
it's about like a balance where it can never be a perfect balance. It's going to be spread out and every person's numbers will be different. Your numbers might be 50-40 or it might be 30-20.
But that's why we have geniuses and...
that's how it is.
Like,
Do you think it's about more brain power?
It's not about more brain power. I would say it's that, like the chemical, whatever it is, the combo is they have a greater combo, like towards knowledge, whatever the stuff that they create in is.
Or you could even say that is probably the extra percent. The fact that they can even...
No, but when you get that, you lose of the other percent. Whatever.
Okay.
It's not just always going to be great.
It's a scale.
You just have everything. It has to balance out. So if you're like good at that, or if you're
probably bad at sports or something,
and then something,
you're probably antisocial or whatever it may be. I hear
yin
that.
and the yang.
That's interesting.
I hear that.
You know, again, it's anecdotal, but from when we're born, we've got a lot more connections than we do now. Imagine a garden that's overgrown, and then depending on where the people walk in the garden, it's going to get pruned away. So in the beginning, lots of connections, but that's so intense for the baby that perhaps meaning making is not possible. And then whatever is necessary, so whatever colors we continue to see or experiences we continue to have, we will strengthen that firing together, wiring together. But if we don't continue firing together, the wires don't stay, and slowly we prune from young age into adulthood. And by about between 23, 24, 25 at the latest, we have an adult brain. And that's good because it would be too much. Imagine always being on psychedelics. That's heavy. Like, I don't know if you've guys seen, there's so many tremendous, like, I don't want to say abnormal, rather anomalies in human experience. There are some people who are always orgasming and everyone's like, oh, that sounds great, but you're like, I gotta go to the bank and like the school with my child, like and this is the same for intense experience. So maybe some people do have a faster run round in their cycle. I don't know what that means, but I'll rather say things happen to us. I don't think we are geniuses. We have genius running through us. Like that ancient Greek mythology vibe is much nicer and it's much less about it's inside of you. And that's also why we allow a lot of rich people who might be good at one thing to try to do lots of other things. Because we're like, oh, you're a genius and everything. Like, well, maybe not, you know?
It's not like that.
Yeah. And having the biggest gun doesn't make you the best soldier. So this is my vibe, you know? Yeah, truly, bro.
Having the biggest gun does not mean you're the best shooter.
Yeah, man, it's the motion of that. But it's complex because, again, the mind is talking about itself. And even when we're saying, like, for the gents in the back, we keep going to materialism. If we look at that triangle of ontology, we're saying, well, there's stuff in the world, right? And it's moving around and it's interacting with itself. Like in space, now it's astronomy and physics. Or in my brain, now it's neurology and it's chemicals interacting that create stuff moving around. But that is, again, the stuff looking at itself. There's a subjectivity lying behind the objective world that is participating in the moment. And that is not necessarily chemical. It's phenomenal. It's the phenomenology of psychology, or of the psyche, rather. Understanding the world as an experience. We may think that this is the physical world. Who says that? Who knows that? Rather, it's a consensual reality. You're here, right? You're here, right? We're seeing the same thing, right? Now it's real. So I think, well, let's rather watch out and say, well, if everything is chemicals, that's cool, but the chemicals are looking at themselves.
Do you think this is like the universe experiencing itself like through us?
Bro, I feel that way. Do you ask that because you feel that way?
I definitely do feel that way at times. Like, I feel like the experiences we go through, it's just like for the universe to understand itself in a better way, in a deeper way, like just through us. Because I feel like we're so complex. You know what I'm saying?
An extension of it.
I feel you. I think you're right, but I also get confused because I hold on to the same feeling. If we look at what really happens in the world, Big Bang, massive evolution, the universe grows eyes, the universe grows ears and mouths. Here we are looking at the universe looking at itself. So I agree. The universe literally is experiencing itself. But then I'm like, oh man, just watch out about this whole like, we're here to have an experience. Yeah, we are. But then why so much suffering? And why some people have an experience that is so minimal, like a baby born with its back or its spine outside its body. It lives for 40 seconds and it's dead. Why the disease and suffering of the world? And sometimes people think nature is in harmony. To some extent, yeah, but it's also eating itself. So nature is both experiencing itself, but nature is also eating itself. Yeah, you know, damn.
But also there's times like we tend to like put titles on like experiences. So like we say good experience and a bad experience.
Yeah, there's no such thing as good or bad.
So thinking makes it just like experiences, and like you shouldn't like say what's bad, what's good.
It's just happening.
It's just happening, you know.
That's what the gurus are saying. And then I'm like, yeah, dude, you've given me 2 steps on a staircase, so I'm like running down the stairs with you. I'm like, fuck yeah, I see your thinking, but then I'm also like, wow, well, if everything is okay, there's no such thing as good or bad. I cannot enact that. If there's a small child in the room that suddenly someone is hurting, we jump up in our bodies. Does that make sense? We react, and we should, right? So there is no such thing as good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Quote from Shakespeare's Hamlet. And there's beautiful writings from Eastern Buddhist and Hindu tradition. If you go beyond dualism, that's beyond the tree that we were speaking about. That's going back to the Garden of Eden. So you're right, you're on the money. If you don't label the world as anything good or bad, you're in the center, and that's so cool. But can you stay in the center empathetically, you know? Can you stay there and still acknowledge suffering and still do something about it? That's really hard. I try, but that's really hard, you know?
That's a nice thing.
And I feel like you basically
Nah, I'm not
Yeah, I feel like there's just a lot of times where we go through situations and like they're really not as bad as we make them to. You know,
that's how you see it.
You
believe that it's bad, but
that's true.
It's really not that bad. Another person could be going through
it's perspective.
What makes it bad is the way that your mind or whatever reacts. That's what decides if it's good or bad.
That's the reaction you get.
That's how that's
straight up, man.
It chooses for you. So you're just the product of whatever your body or mind feels of whatever happened. Like if you see someone dying, your mind will be like, if your mind tells you that's bad,
then you believe.
But if it's cool,
what told your mind that's bad?
It's the way it took that.
It depends on the environment.
By the time it tells you what to
100%.
say, it already processed what it saw.
And it's that weird loopy two-way street. Sometimes I mess people's names up. I think it's a philosopher, Daniel Dennett. Old dude, really cool. He spoke about this trick of consciousness, and he has a really nice line. But think about it for a while. It's hard to grab because again, we're in it. If you like something because it's sweet, he'll say, you don't like it because it's sweet because you like it. You see, I'll say it again. You don't like it because it's sweet because you like it. So like a fly finds trash delicious. That shit smells amazing to a fly. So we think the world is the way it is, but it's not. You see, it's all that recursive foundation of what is good and bad, and then shit smells bad, and then food smells good, and and that foundation, it's a heavy one, but that foundation is death. We don't see death in life, but everything that feels warm when I'm cold, or delicious when I'm hungry, or sociable when I'm lonely, that's because there's a foundational element in my shadow, a feeling of death that I'm trying to escape. And I might want to escape it through work, through drugs, through psychedelic experience, through self-development. We may escape it to better things, but we may escape it to always avoid the opportunity of freedom from that thing.
I want to tell you about my first psychedelic experience.
I would love to hear, man.
I want to tell you about my first. That's like crazy as hell. So, you know, you get to hear while you're getting the word around town. Oh, it's dope. Like from the people that you're getting it with. Oh, it's dope. Like this. Okay, cool. So we're at a certain place, allegedly. Gotta give that a legend there. I had something today, baby. So we had some dude's house, me and my homie, and we about to try shrooms for the first time. So he puts it like in a whole tea. He makes a tea out of it. So he boils up some tea, puts it in there. Tasted horrible. I think that's why I played a part of it. So in this, we're drinking the tea. Okay, we're starting to smoke some weed, and then this guy goes downstairs. So we still in his house. We still upstairs. It's me and my homie. So we two, there's 3 of us. So he's going downstairs. Now, the psychedelics is starting to kick in, and we are starting to wonder, like, where is this guy? Like, where is he? Like, now it's like, for us, it feels like it's been 30 minutes. It's starting to get bad. Oh my gosh, okay. This guy comes upstairs and he shows us his finger off.
What?
Like his finger bitten. So
What?
what happened outside was his dog got into it when he was opening the gate for someone.
Dude.
His dog got into it with the neighbor's dog. He was also on troop, so he was also tripping. So he tried to put his hand in the dog's mouth to like pull it off.
God damn.
His old dog bit his finger off. So now his fingers, and he comes up to us, and this is my first time. This is the first time.
Yeah,
That's a bad trip.
No, this is the first time tripping.
That's a bad trip.
That is
Like-
insane, man.
Already our trip is going left because we're wondering where is this guy. Like it's been long now. It's his house. Like we waited, and he comes up with that stuff, and
Blood.
immediately I started seeing, people know the story, I always say the story, I started seeing blood coming down from the walls.
That's crazy.
And I'm like, oh my gosh.
That's so
And
crazy.
he comes up, he tells us, yo, I'm going to the hospital, keep my stuff together. So somehow he had his money out there, he had like maybe 20,000 of his money chilling there.
And was
He
he
tells
on-
me, keep my money, like, yo guys, just make sure everything is cool. I go to the money and I take the money and put it in my nuts. My mind is taking over. Like I'm just watching what's going on. Now he's looking at me like, yo, what are you doing, dog? What's going on with you, dog? So he'd be like, Sheeny, what's going on, Sheeny? I'm like, oh shit. Oh, I put it back. He's like, oh shit, I'm about to go. You niggas are tripping. He's telling us, yo, y'all tripping now. So he dips. Oh my god. After that it was deep. I had the worst next 30 minutes of my life.
Yeah.
Just like stressing. Oh my gosh. It's my first time, dog.
Can you explain what's going through your mind in that half hour?
This might sound crazy. Don't look at me crazy, right?
Yeah.
So the lights, there was like the way the light was coming through the curtain. It was just starting to trip with me. So now I'm feeling tense now. I'm like, oh shit, they're coming with. So to make this, we had a dealer's house. This one adds another flavor onto it. The tenseness. This is where the tenseness comes. We had a dealer's house and we know he has problems. He recently had problems with someone. So in my mind, they're coming.
Oh, damn. That's crazy.
In my mind, they're coming. He told me this like a few days ago.
They could be-
Before
they
that,
could- they could
no,
become.
there was an issue like that happened with him. But in my mind, I'm like, they're here.
Yeah.
So now I'm panicking. I'm going to the toilet. I'm going to run on a pee. And I'm looking out the window.
Checking.
And I'm like, what's going on?
Paranoia.
I'm stuck.
Yeah.
I'm tripping. I'm in school uniform. Apparently.
dude.
Allegedly, I'm in school uniform. Allegedly, I'm in school uniform. You must know I'm tripping past.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go home, but I can't go home now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the worst situation.
It's like, now I'm
Can't go home at that
hyperventilating. I'm
I'm
starting
to
to
have those
breathe.
problems when tripping.
Yo.
I'm tripping out. Lights are starting to go crazy, and I'm like, these guys coming. I was telling my homie that I'm with, dog, like, I don't know about you, but me, I'm done with this shit. I'm going home, dog. So we had to wait and everything. That was my first experience with shrooms.
You just walked it off. You slept better the next day.
Oh no, I was questioning. I went home questioning and everything.
Shit.
On my walk home, I'm questioning, like, what the fuck just happened?
Was that real?
Probably the addict in my body is like, wow, that was cool.
Yeah.
And then the rest of my body was like, what's going on now?
Trying to figure it out.
What
now,
is
what
this,
was
dog?
it?
This is not what they told me this was gonna be.
Yeah. Well, it's
Never
hard
really-
to explain, man.
Yeah,
It's so hard to explain. I can't even explain it in the details that I saw it, like, because this thing felt like 30 minutes and it was like 3-4 hours
I feel you.
that went by.
Damn.
And it's like, damn, it's already 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
I understand, man. I've had
That was my
experiences
experience.
that
I was like, I was defeated. After that, I respected it, and we had a great relationship ever since.
Yeah.
What made you decide to take a second time? And was it a while before you did?
I made sure that my circumstances are in a better circumstance, more safe. I don't know people.
10 fingers.
Right.
Yeah, you're trying to be in
Yeah, that guy's
people with
fingers
10
missed out. He had to
Heavy
put a rod in
days,
his
man.
finger, though. That's my name, Dylan. Shout out to Dylan.
Shit.
He had to put a
Yeah.
rod in his finger.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. Shame. What an intense experience, man. I can't imagine
That's
being.
crazy.
My
For
homie
your
was
first
taking it like a
time.
G, though.
That's
I was
heavy,
the one
dude.
tripping.
Yeah, that's why you gotta be in nature for those kind of trips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Safe with people you
Yeah.
trust.
With people you trust and like no bad thoughts.
No bad vibes.
Coming like
There's
my,
no bad
a bad
vibes.
thought must be my 9th thought.
Mm,
It should not be top 5. Like
And many times people think that they can safeguard things by having the right music, and the problem is the mind. But then it's that you fall down the stairs, or that your dog bites you, and then you got to deal with the hospital.
It can be something you can't control.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why these lines are so sad, because while it's illegal, if people are doing it, if they need help, then we're not phoning for help because it's an illegal thing. And so it's very, very sad. But harm reduction is doing your own research, knowing as much as you can about it, finding a safe space.
Safe space.
Safe space.
What? Yeah, like
safe trace. Everything needs to be safe. Yeah. Because how sure are you when you're getting this psychedelics, wherever you're getting it from, however you're getting it from, because it's not from a lab? How sure are you that this is what you're supposed to be getting? You know?
Yeah, that's sad, man. I don't know who gets what and where, because it's in the gray zone or the black zone. Yeah, it's sometimes sitting next to cannabis. Sometimes that's how people are getting access. Yeah,
just because of based on reputation.
Yeah, it's heavy days, and people also think that they know what they're taking if they see a mushroom. To some extent, they'll say it's magic mushrooms, but there's a massive gradient or variant of psilocybin versus psilocin. How you take it and contraindications, things you should not be taking at the same time. People also don't know about that. Yeah, and that's very heavy. Not only does it dampen the experience, but there is some research that suggests that you have some risk for serotonin syndrome, which can create an overheating in your body, can lead to passing out, epilepsy, and eventually stroke. It's a very small margin, but you should never play with those things. And people should know, if you're on prescription medication and you're trying to take psychedelics, it's almost like you're revving the engine's petrol and the brake at the same time. It's a very simplified way of saying it, and some people disagree with this too. There's new research coming out, so there's a fight about this. But I'll say always play the cautious game, because it's one thing, like your story suggests, that it's your first time and now you're seeing a 9-fingered person, and you got a deal, and suddenly it's an episode of The Shining, and you thought that you were going to see fairies. You know?
As a high schooler at this point, you know, it must.
Some people aren't ready for that.
And even people who have taken a lot of drugs, like I can speak about this one because it's not mine and it's online. You guys know Drew Carey from Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the video of his on YouTube? No. It was during that show of, like, I forget who did it, man, but it was some of the Joe Rogan Jason crew, and they did a drug show where a comedian comes up and tells a drug story. Online. It's really, This Is Not Happening, I think is the name. And Drew Carey is such a good example, because there's lots of people on the show you expect are taking drugs. Now here's Drew Carey, you know? And so he's speaking very eloquently about his drug taking, that he keeps on saying, my friends are doing, but not me, because I'm on The Price Is Right, wink wink. And then eventually he goes to a bunch of festivals, massive drug taking around him, including his friend. And as his friend is coming up, he's taken lots of drugs before, he starts acting really weird. He's like, yo man, they're about to go, because it's like an all-night festival. It's like 5-6 a.m. and they're going to call the van, and Drew's like, yo, we're going to go. He's like, is this how it's going to be? Is this how it's going to be, man? He's like, yeah man, we're going to get the van, we're going to go. He's like, okay, is that how it's going to be? And eventually, as they're walking out to the van, he realizes, oh, my friend thinks that I'm going to kill him, and we're getting the van now to take him away and to kill him now. Never mind, the friend's like still coming with like, oh, I deserve it, you know. And then they get in the van, and as the van's going, just like that one, you know, yours is more rough, man, 9 fingers, but in the car, Hotel California starts playing, and it's with that hotel that you can never leave, and he's like, yo, what's this, man? So layer on layer of paranoia. But can you imagine that a bro can think that his friend is going to kill him just because he took a small amount of drugs, and there were 2 or 3 things that happened? It's a very common experience that people don't always unpack because they're going through it alone, and you're supposed to party with your friends, right? But now you're freaking out in the corner, and you'd rather just keep it to yourself and like psychologically bleed weeks later.
That reminds me of Sun City. Remember?
Oh, you got another one, man.
I got another one. Let me give you another one. Hits. I was at Sun City. We were at Sun City allegedly. We were allegedly at Sun City, and we allegedly took LSD. Right? Allegedly, right? Allegedly we took LSD, and then we went to like the cave at Sun City. Then we went to the VR spot where they do like the VR, like where you in the game, right? Oh my gosh. Did I not hyperventilate?
That's a lot, dude.
I think it was just too much. And in this game where I'm at, it's monsters, and I'm dying the whole time. I can't.
VR is a trip on its own.
I'm starting to trip out. I'm like, what's going on? Like, I took it off. We didn't even finish the whole hour.
That's too much.
Me and him. And I went outside. I told him I'm coming now. I went to go throw up in the corner. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I know that guy's not feeling like me.
Yeah.
Did you go on the roller coasters, dude?
No.
Oh no, hell no.
No.
Oh,
Can
man.
only imagine.
I might just jump off.
me putting the VR.
might just
That's just straight off me putting the VR on. And like,
My man's gonna tell me to do something crazy. Like,
just
I don't trust myself fully, like 100%.
I feel like-
I get you.
Because when I was tripping, even a couple months ago, like when the trip kicked in, bro, I had to go through my whole life, like my bag, my phone, like in the car, bro. I didn't trust myself with any valuables, bro.
I understand, man.
So shit.
no, how it is. You
I
might
didn't trust
just-
myself with any like belongings, bro.
Yeah.
So I went and like threw my whole
Dumped everything.
everything in the car, locked it. I was like, nah, bro, it's crazy. So like, if I would go on a roller coaster, I just don't trust myself on a roller coaster. I just don't know what I might do, bro.
I think that's fucking clever, dude. I really
In a
am.
real
It's
roller
about
coaster,
that
like VR.
safe zone, you know, like making
Yeah, dude.
making sure that everything goes well.
Yeah, man.
For this next few hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, like, the wrong things should be minimal.
Yeah.
The wrong things. I have a question. Have you heard, or is this a true thing? Apparently, there's a hallucinogenic. Is it hallucinogenic or hallucinogenic?
Perfect. Hallucinogenic.
Hallucinogenic in South America, where it's a powder or something, and they blow it in your face, and you you can do whatever they tell you. So if they tell you go and steal,
You gonna go
you
steal.
will go and steal.
Go hit the list.
Sadly,
Have you heard of this, or is this fiction? or is this-
Sadly, dude. Again, this is if someone can disagree with me if they want, but I've seen some good documentaries on it. I've read about it.
I've been
and there
saying this
are
on the
cases of it, in several spaces in the world, and so it's anecdotally called devil's breath. I don't know what the compound is, but you can actually see the trees growing in the streets of the city, and there's I don't know if it's a dried fruit or what exactly this. It looks like a little bundle, dried bundle, and from that they create this powder, and it's called devil's breath because it's known to be used in crimes. Someone may come up to you with a map and say, "Sorry, can you help me?" And as they come up, and then suddenly, someone may douse it on themselves, and then the shocking feeling is that the person is, and on CCTV, the rare cases that we've seen, or people recounting the tale, they say, "I was just doing everything that they wanted very happily," and you can see going into hotels, getting everyone's stuff, giving it to them, walking straight out on the CCTV, seemingly cognizant, but absolutely happy to do whatever, and then it seems to pass over time, and there's a kind of amnesia, I think, that falls over the person. So sadly, it's true.
That is true. Wow.
I don't know. It's scary. I don't know how long. I don't know how long, but I will say at least it's very rare. It's very sad that it happens, and it's always inside of desperate spaces. So South America and I think Southern Africa share very cool histories. I had a really cool history prof that said, if you want to see the future of Southern Africa, look 100 years in the past of South America. They've been developing in similar ways to us, but they've had democratic openings and also extreme disparity. So another example of crime culture that's growing, bro. It's heavy in the South, man.
Look just like us.
And there's layers to the oppression, But in Southern Africa now, it's becoming more. It's more visible that people are doing kidnappings, for example. So that's a thing that was in South America, and we see here now. So we see certain drug cultures that are adopted normally because of economic disparity, and then something like the devil's breath can really give you a feeling of, wow, I can really take out someone safely. I will try to do it. And unfortunately, of course, it's not safe because if someone gives a person devil's breath, they have no idea what they're doing chemically, and too much of this kills the person. So they think that they're going to rob someone, but instead they kill someone. But it is scary when we hear these. This is one very rare case. It's not nice to be like all drugs scary, not always so, but this one is sadly, it seems true and very scary for me.
I heard about that like in a documentary way back.
Taking that one.
And I was always skeptical about it.
It's good to be skeptical. There's other ones where there are documentaries that are quite famous, but in the end, it wasn't the drug, but it was the byproduct in creating the drug that created the scary feature of it. I think there was one called Crocodile that you'll see, and it's people who inject a certain drug. I think it's in the Eastern Europe space, and then it seems like they get this really horrible, like Game of Thrones stone vibe skin, right? But years later or long after, people are unpacking and criticizing this and saying that wasn't as a result of the drug itself, but the byproducts that weren't effectively released in the creation of that drug. So it was essentially toxins in the creation. So many times you've got drug scare stories that are true, many times that aren't true. The best thing I'll say is do your research. Do your research and make sure go to Google Scholar too. Hey, it's very easy. Go YouTube and find a lot of videos that take you on a little spiral. But go to a peer-reviewed article and type that detail in, and go and check where people have checked the checkers checking the checkers.
Fact check them.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Fact check the fact checker.
I don't mean to cut you off or anything, but we're just gonna quickly go to an ad break.
Fact check.
Please.
We'll be right back.
Yeah, let's go.
My speech hella back just like candle. Dirty stick making sounds instrumental. He thought it was Molly, he only don't fentanyl. I didn't step in the bullet before my few tracks, get my cash and it's time to go. They thought it was real, told them slow down, now this ain't 5 year old. Started trapping when I was 5 years old. Keep a Glock in the back, watch him fall. He around, watch him tell it all. Yeah, they still waiting on me to fall. It's a shame cause I'm a slow ball. Fuck y'all, fuck y'all, fuck y'all. All I gotta do is make one call. Ain't shit cut nuts back against the wall. I pull up inside of a gust.
I think we really touched on some really interesting topics, topics that we don't generally get to touch on in our daily lives. You know what I'm saying? So I think that is really, really cool.
No. I like that conversation. It was a very, 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 very wealthy conversation.
Put my mind
Oh, bless, guys. I feel richer
dense
for it, man.
conversation. It's not a little balloon. It's not a balloon. That's I like that. We would love for you to come back. Dog.
Yeah. Oh, bless, guys.
This
It's such a
is
pleasure,
just the
man.
tip of the iceberg.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
for sure.
Smoking up with you.
Yeah,
love to have you
for the
back.
plans,
Very
guys.
Speaking this
Too nice,
season.
man.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it too much.
Really speaking that vibes.
But like before you go,
You got
us
to.
what you got.
we gotta see.
got
play
to.
a little sound.
Show us what you got.
Play a little
Space
sound, player.
Impact Game. Where my dogs at? 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 Some real player vibes. Okay. Yeah. Spaceimpact. It's the Spaceimpact. It's the Spaceimpact. It's the Spaceimpact. It's the Spaceimpact. Little boy don't get jacked. It's the Spaceimpact. It's the Spaceimpact. Chopper got chopper. Chopper hit him in the head. Chopper then chopper.
Switch up. Switch up. Switch up. I'm floating now. I'm floating now. I'm floating now. Whoa. Whoa.
Yeah.
We tripping, guys. Space gang, we tripping right now, Space. Let's turn up.
Let's go!
Spooky space. My favorite is
What does it call it?
spooky space.
Spooky space.
Yeah.
Where we at?
Like the
Spooky
Halloween
space.
vibes.
Ooh, I had the chop of the day. I had the chop of the day. I had the chop of the day. I had the chop of today. I had the chop of the day. I had to give it away. I had the chop of today. 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 I had to throw it away. 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 It was an AK. I had to throw it away. It was an AK. I had to throw it away. It was a Glock game. I had to throw it away. Then I had to go get a new gun the same day. Spaceimpact. You only get that at Spaceimpact, right?
Yeah.
Lovely.
Shout out, man.
Damn.
We out there, big.
Yeah, man. Get your asses in here, man. Let's say bye. Let's say bye to the gang, right?
Now just let them know they can catch you, anything like that.
Yeah, where can they catch you at?
Tide me over.
You'll
find me everywhere. Tidemeover.co.za. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, every streaming service. Like a little boat floating. You'll find me. Tide me over.
On Gotti. Yeah, we out.
Space gang, we out.
So fun to be here. For
Oh, that was dope.
Really appreciate it.